This section here traditionally would have been filled with U.S. corn. Customers love it because it's a great product.
Imagine waking up one day to find that something you've always been the best at, suddenly nobody wants anymore. Well, that's exactly what's happening to American corn farmers right now, and it's a story that should worry every single American.
With tariff talks top of mind, South Florida farmers say they're in trouble. Crops are rotting on the vine, and they're blaming the ongoing trade wars and immigration changes.
For generations, American corn has been more than just a crop. It's been a symbol of our agricultural dominance, our ability to feed the world, and our economic strength. But today, that symbol is crumbling before our eyes, and the consequences are rippling through communities across the heartland in ways that most Americans don't even realize yet. For decades, American corn fed hundreds of millions of people around the world. We were the undisputed kings of corn, the go-to supplier for countries everywhere. Our golden fields stretched from Iowa to Indiana, and the sound of harvesters working day and night was the soundtrack of American prosperity. But today, something unthinkable is happening. Thousands of tons of American corn are being rejected at international borders. Contracts are getting canceled left and right, and prices are crashing so hard that farmers are literally letting their crops rot in the fields because harvesting them would cost more than just walking away. Meanwhile, our quiet neighbor to the north, Canada, is swooping in and signing billion-dollar deals with the same countries that are turning their backs on the United States. It's kind of like watching your best customers walk past your store to stop at your competitor's place next door, and you can't figure out why.
We've obviously seen the very visible and visceral reaction from markets to US policies, but it's very interesting to see from the consumer side what impact it's having, and these little acts of activism from consumers who have decided to turn their back on certain US products.
Let's talk about what this really means for real people, because behind every statistic is a family struggling to survive right now. In Iowa, the largest corn-producing state in America, farmers who've worked the land for 30-plus years are doing something they never thought they would have to. They're leaving perfectly good corn to rot because harvesting it would actually cost them more money than just walking away. One farmer put it bluntly, "I've been growing corn for 30 years, but this is the first time I let it rot in the field, harvesting just to incur more losses."
Well, if you're wondering why farmers are so concerned about their farm finances right now, they really just can't catch a break. It's not just because corn prices are below break even for most. It's the fact input prices are so high.
Just think about that for a second. Corn prices have dropped below $3.50 per bushel. That's cheaper than a gas station coffee. When your product is worth less than a cup of coffee, you know something is seriously wrong. The ripple effects here are heartbreaking and far-reaching. In Illinois, farming families are mortgaging everything they own just to keep losing money. Kids are dropping out of school because their parents can't afford gas to drive them there, or because they need to help find work to keep the family alive and afloat. Some schools have switched to online teaching because they can't afford to fuel the buses. Over in Nebraska, entire communities are withering away. Gas stations are closing their doors. Banks are only open twice a week. Department stores have given up selling new merchandise and have switched to secondhand goods from Walmart. What used to be thriving farming communities now look like ghost towns, with only the sound of wind blowing through the abandoned fields. In Indiana, the factories that used to build hundreds of harvesters every month are now giving workers alternating days off, which is just a really nice way of saying unofficial unemployment. The restaurants that used to be packed with workers grabbing lunch are now only open half the week because there's no more lunch shifts to serve. Over in Missouri, their corn packing plants have cut orders by 40%, and some have stopped their packaging lines entirely because there's simply nothing left to package. Truck drivers who used to haul corn across the country are now driving for Uber or delivering pizza, trying to make ends meet any way that they can. But perhaps the most devastating impact isn't financial, it's psychological. These farming communities built their entire identity around feeding the world. They took pride in knowing that their work put food on tables from Tokyo to Berlin. And now, they're facing a crisis of identity that goes far deeper than just money.
Trump decided he wasn't going to give us our farm check. That's fine. We're just going to burn the crops. Let everybody starve.
A farmer in Nebraska captured this perfectly. I used to tell my son, if you farm, you could support a whole family. Now I only dare to tell him to study another field or leave this place as soon as possible. A teacher in rural Missouri shared, I see students coming to class with old shoes and thin winter clothes. These children know nothing about trade policy, but they're living with its consequences every day. Look, I'm from a farming community myself. I grew up working the land. This isn't just about failed crops or market fluctuations. This is all about the slow death of the American dream in rural communities, happening quietly and without any kind of fanfare.
Perfectly good tomatoes are being plowed over instead of picked. It's a sad scene happening in South Florida.
You can't even afford to pick them right now between the cost of the labor and the inputs that go in.
Look, the answer to this isn't pretty, but I'm gonna level with you, okay? Because it points out some very uncomfortable truths about how America has been doing business. First, we got complacent. While we were coasting on our reputation as the world's breadbasket, other countries were getting better. We kept using the same old methods, the same old fertilizers, and signing the same short-term contracts, thinking our reputation would carry us forever. But the thing is, the world has changed around us. Countries started caring about things like chemical residues, GMOs, and environmental standards. They wanted cleaner, traceable products with transparent certification systems. International customers began demanding corn that met strict EU and Asian standards. And us? We just kept doing things the old way, assuming our historical dominance would be enough. On top of that, we politicized our trade relationships. While Canada was up there, petting moose and building stable long-term partnerships with countries like Japan, South Korea, and Germany, while they were focusing on trust and reliability, we were caught up in tariff wars and using trade as a political weapon to strong-arm other countries. This led to abandoning our farmers. While other countries were supporting their agricultural sectors with comprehensive insurance, technology investments, and long-term planning, American farmers were left to just figure it out on their own.
At the height of when we are out of Canada's growing season, we could be upwards of 60%, 70% American produce, okay? Right now, we're only running at about 30%.
Here's the real kicker. Canada didn't win by being cheaper or growing more corn. They won by being smarter, more reliable, and more strategic. Canadian farmers grow clean corn. No GMOs, no glyphosate pesticides, and they strictly follow EU and Asian standards. They have transparent certification systems to let customers trace exactly where their corn came from and how it was grown. When a South Korean official says Canadian corn has maintained stable quality for 5 years with no shipments returned, that's not luck. That's the result of systematic investment in quality and reliability by a government that cares about its agricultural systems. Canada has also been smart to keep politics out of business. While America was over here slapping tariffs on everybody and everything and getting into trade wars, Canada was quietly signing 3 to 5 year contracts, giving their customers the stability and predictability that businesses desperately need in an uncertain world. And don't forget for a second that farming is a business. It's a lifeblood. It's all a lot of us know or have known, but it is still a business at the end of the day. And most importantly out of all of this, Canada supports their farmers properly. Canadian farmers get insurance for both yield and price, so they can afford to invest in better technology and sustainable farming methods. Hell, the government actively supports inspection, transportation, and trade negotiations instead of leaving their farmers to just figure it all out by themselves. The scariest part of all of this might just be the beginning. We've already completely lost soybean exports to China. If we can't fix the corn crisis, what's next? Wheat? Beef? Dairy? America used to be the world's supplier, the center of the global food chain. Countries learned from us, they bought from us, and they believed in us. But now the world is actively looking for replacements, and guess what? They're finding them. Brazil is expanding rapidly with new farming techniques. Australia is winning customers with clean, climate-friendly products. And Canada is quietly becoming the reliable trade partner that America used to be. The simple fact is, folks, the world doesn't wait for anybody, no matter how American or superior you think you are. We can't afford to take a nap while all these other countries are eating our lunch. So the question is, will we wake up in time to save what's left of our agricultural heritage? Or are we going to sit back and be complacent and let it all burn?